Hello, we're here with the Director of the Arts and Tourism for Dakar, Senegal. Please tell us your name and your position with Dakar Arts and Tourism.
My name is Omar. My last name is SAMB, SAMB, and I'm the current managing director of the government agency for the promotion of handicraft, which is part of the Ministry of Tourism and Handicraft.
And what is your mission, Omar?
Oh, uh, it's a very huge letter of mission because it is that of promoting handicraft, promoting Senegal destination, promoting tourism, let's say promoting also arts, paintings, and helping our artists and artisans to find markets outside. In this sense, we have already participated in many events outside of the country, mainly in states like Indiana, like Chicago, like Atlanta, like Washington, D.C. So, in a nutshell, our mission is to bring people to know more about our handmade products, the Senegalese fashion, Senegalese design.
That's a pretty big mission to fulfill in this large country. Give us some examples of some of the programs you've already put in place.
For example, that of, let's say, organizing next December an international fashion show in Dakar, just like the first one we organized also last year. So this is perspective, but in terms of let's say achievement, we already organized, let's say, international shows here in Dakar. Uh, that included fashion design, that included sculpture, paintings, ceramics, leatherworks, etc. So the government, the President Wad himself, trusted us with the mission of, let's say, organizing the handicraft sector, so much so that we have visibility inside the country first. That's why we organize a lot of events to attract people to get our products more familiar with Senegalese people. Because when a product is not well known in here in Senegal, we do not think that maybe it will be having such audience outside Senegal. That's why we fought to organize a series of events, and also something important is about finance. We found credit for micro enterprises. We connected to local banks and local financial institutions to get our artisans have access to credit. And that was extremely important because it allowed them to increase their business. It even allowed some to be able to export goods to Europe, to USA, to China, etc. The lady we visited yesterday is a perfect example of our investment in terms of credit and promotion. Because when I met her 5 years back, she never had any experience, let's say, in terms of exports, in terms of international outstanding, something like that. But when I was appointed as director of handicraft promotion, I organized a show here, and I invited all the embassies around, U.S. Embassy, French Embassy, Japan Embassy, Korean Embassy. And when they came, French people and U.S. Embassy representatives decided that they will have Senegalese artists in their big events. That's how we were invited first in July 2007 at Indiana Black Expo Show. That was the first time that 30 artists sponsored by the government they participated in a big event in the US. And since then, we thank God we keep going. We are invited to Atlanta National Black Art Festival, to the Memphis Art Festival, to St. Louis Festival, many festivals. And with you, we believe that we'll be very soon invited to the Chicago event and more events through your connection and through your gallery.
We really look forward to having you in Chicago at Gallery Guichard for the next exhibit with all
Great.
of the wonderful artists that you have, and hopefully they'll be able to come to Chicago as well.
They will.
And looking at the products that we've seen as we've traveled around, and I have to say, Omar, thank you for letting us see
You're welcome.
Senegal.
You're welcome.
It is a wonderful
You're
place.
most welcome.
The quality of work is, you know, probably, none could really be able to compete because it really is quality work. And we want to know a little bit more about the history of art here in Dakar, Senegal, or in Senegal. Can you tell us a little bit more about the history of art?
Well, I think, as one of the artists used to put it, it's a matter of inspiration. It's a matter of, let's say, representing, portraying our culture, our habits, and our tradition in a way that it can be, let's say, seen, explored, visited by foreign people. You know, originally, Senegal is a very open country, and this is the doorway to West Africa. And we've been colonized by white people, so we keep some, let's say, souvenirs of colonization. But when you are colonized, something happens. It happens in you that you really want to show your value. You want to show yourself, your identity. You want to show that no one is stronger, no one is better, no one is, shining more than you can do. In this perspective, our artists are always trying to show the best they can do. That's why the arts and the paintings, the handicraft products are genuinely, good made products. Because, first of all, they want to show the Senegalese genius, the Senegalese know-how. But don't forget that we are also competing sometimes with other countries within the West African region. And Senegal has got, let's say, some feeling which is very important, and it's deeply rooted in our education. The feeling that we are one of the first nations in West Africa, if not the first nation, because African people believe that if they don't come to Senegal, they have not gone to, a real place, real Africa, in terms of production, in terms of, let's say, investment, in terms of education. We took the lead for several years. Now, of course, many African countries are doing great. Mali, Cote d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, they're doing great, and they even come to a certain level we have not reached yet. But formerly, Dakar, Senegal, used to be considered as the capital city of West Africa. And this also, is part of the motivations why we are trying to do always good. Our artists, when they compete, when you go to a show organized in somewhere in Africa, for example, take the example of fashion design. I myself, I led a mission in Burkina Faso that was in 2008, and I had 15 artists with me, and we had several booths, 10 to 15 booths. But even after the exhibit, uh, the mayor of the city decided that he would host an exhibition dedicated to Senegal artists because it was fabulous. People came, and most people went directly to the Senegal pavilion. To tell you that even in West Africa, Senegal artists have sometimes gained recognition by their peers. That's why it's extremely, important for them to keep up the path and to be doing good. And we government also, because I was appointed by President Watt himself.
I've reached home. I feel as though Senegal is home to me and many other African Americans. And when I exited the plane and reached the soil, I felt as though I had finally come home
Great.
and to a place where our ancestors last departed. And
Indeed.
I am feeling very sure that our ancestors are very happy that we're here and able to bring the art of Senegal to the United States as well as its people. So, Omar, can you tell me a little bit about the culture of and the history of Senegal? Its people, its dress, its language, its religion, and so on.
Um, this is a cultural place, and you mentioned right now that you feel home. This is what we want to create in our guest. We want everybody that comes to Senegal to feel home, mostly for African Americans. You know, we had a chance to visit you and I, Goree Island recently, and you could, let's say, have an idea about, let's say, that legacy is extremely important. 20 million people transited in Goree Islands to be sent to America, to Brazil, and to other places around the world. Originally, before the slave trade, became a business, uh, people, African people, used to war between themselves. Unfortunately, tribal wars. This tribe believes that it's stronger than this tribe. They needed to take a piece of land to add it to their territory, and war burst out. And during this war, some people are made prisoners. And when you are made a prisoner, they, you are the ownership, the property of the people who, capture you. So they decided to sell afterwards when white people experienced that in America's plantations, in Brazil's plantations, they needed labor force, but very good labor force. They tried the Indians, they did not resist. They tried the Chicanos, they did not resist. They tried other nationalities, but they never did good. They died after 2 or 3 months. Then some missionaries informed those people about Africa. And originally, initially, it was the Gold Coast that was referred to as Africa. It was rich. We had gold. We had a very rich soil and environment over there. When missionaries informed white people, they came. And we have to recognize that at first, some Africans collaborated with slave traders. They sold out brothers, but they were prisoners. But then afterwards, they were encouraged, they were supported to go beyond the prisoners and try to see the valid youngsters, strong, fit, you know, uh, really, let's say, fit for all work. And they decided now to collaborate with some African kings to have them. Originally, also, the information was not quite well because uh, some African people were doing that on the basis that they are trying to give a better future to their youngsters. You know, they said, okay, these people will take you home, you will work, and you'll be paid. But after the first, boats were loaded, they understood the reality, and now they try to resist. But it was, now, uh, let's say, some, they imposed, I mean, the slave masters imposed their will on African tribes. They decided to collaborate. I mean, someone accepted to collaborate with them to have African children go out of Africa to be sold. But then we had three centers, slave centers. One was in Ghana, another one was in Benin, but the most popular one was Goree Island. They used to bring millions of slaves here. And the richest slave masters, white slave masters, were in Dakar. They used to send people prospect and come back with, boats of slaves. And when they came, you saw in which conditions they were kept in prison, in very bad conditions. Most of them died. They say something like 6 million people died before they crossed the ocean, not to mention the number of people that died when they were crossing the ocean. So that was near, let's say, 1400 year, 14, 1500, 1600, because it was, let's say, something like 3 centuries of slavery. And that part is extremely important. in Africa. And Senegal, was blessed with that position of having now that World Heritage patrimony, which is Gore Island, which is a testimony of that violence, that, let's say, shameful trade that people are, they organize auctions to sell young Africans. And if you resisted, you yourself saw the cells that were, they were keeping people who were trying to resist this tragedy. So now, to focus on Senegal history, it was originally founded by the Lebu community. These are fishermen. We have water all around the city of Dakar. Dakar is almost an island. It's surrounded by water everywhere. We have just one doorway going to the countryside. If not everywhere, we have water. That's why the first people living in Dakar were fishermen, the main activity. And we call them in our language Lebus. Until now, Lebus have got some very important traditions, some important, relics. You can remember, uh, you can see the baobab tree, which used to be, let's say, a place where they gathered to solve conflicts. Because before the advent of court, we had some forms of, justice, some organization. For example, before a family is dislocated, before a family is broken, they want to gather all the family members under a tree. The wisest people, the oldest came, women, men, everybody gives his point of view about, the behavior that is on stake. For example, when a young kid behaves, very badly, they convene him to a meeting, and they remind him of his story. And I myself, as a kid, I remember when I did bad, how my grandma and my grandpa, decided to educate me. They just remind me of my past. You know, you are grandson of Ibrahim. Ibrahim is grandson of Omar. Omar is grandson of Usman. Do you know who's Usman? That's that gentleman who, risked his life to give food to people that came from foreign places, were just crossing our country. But it's because they were in need of for food. He risked his life. He went to hunt. He never hunted, but he went in the forest at night. He hunted for food and came for animals, killed them, cooked, and gave to foreign people he never met before. This is your grandpa. You are a descendant of such a brilliant man. Do you think you have the right to behave this way? And then most of the time you burst into tears because you are moved by such story. This is strong part of education which we used, and that is the explanation of the reason why we used to have a lot of palaver trees. Baobab, the baobab tree, that tree with leaves, a lot of leaves open toward the sky, but with very long roots, deeply rooted into the soil, conveys our tradition. It means that we are deeply rooted in our culture, but we are open to the world also. And even in the uniforms, the police uniforms and the soldiers' uniforms, there is the sign of the baobab. Means that, remember, they can kill you, but
So President Obama visited Ghana first
right.
instead of coming to Senegal.
To me, or to Senegalese people, it's misinformation that led President Obama to take such a decision. Because Ghana he visited, we have nothing against Ghana. These are our nice brothers. We have very good relationship, state level, social level. We have really good relationship with Ghana. But then, reality has to be known by everybody. The truth is that this is a country where we never experienced any coup, any military coup to gain power. In all parts of Africa, there was a coup, including Ghana. And we learned that President Obama chose to go to Ghana on the basis that Ghana is the most democratic nation, is the most peaceful and stable nation, where there never been any military coup. Unfortunately, that is not exact. The truth is that there was coup, or even 2 or 3 coups. We don't know the exact number of coups that happened in Ghana. This is a place where, thanks God, we never experienced any military coup. If this is one of the reasons why President Obama went to Ghana first instead of coming to Dakar, to Senegal, I think we must correct very quickly that mistake. It's a mistake. This is one of the most democratic countries, and we are attached to Obama, President Obama, personally for several reasons, for various reasons you may guess. The first is that there is a sense of brotherhood relationship with President Obama. He's African American. We consider him, we regard him as the first black president of U.S. president. You see, that's why we have strong sense of relations with President Obama. For that, we are very proud, and we would be really proud to host him. Second reason is maybe political reason. You know, I belong to the Democratic Party, to the Senegalese Democratic Party. So our our philosophy, our political trend is democracy, liberalism, and this is the same for President Obama. These are the reasons why we wanted President Obama to visit our country, and President was especially you know sensitive to Obama's fight to come to power. Here now in our schools, there is a song people, students used to sing, and education, teachers used to teach to their pupils. It's, let's say, yes we can, yes we can. We have even the wall of translation of yes we can. Wow, mën naa ko. Wow, mën naa ko. It's very strong. It means I am fit, I am capable, I can do it. Wow, mën naa ko. Wow, mën nañ ko. This is very important in in Senegal, and that sentence and or that awareness, you know, has been all along our lifetime been here. It's been really deeply rooted in our culture. But we are proud to see that in the USA also are considered as, let's say, the land of opportunity, the land of freedom, the land of, I could say, honey, milk, because it's the way we perception from the U.S. is extremely positive in Senegal. In Senegal, simply because even if you are serious, if you do good, they call you, yeah, he's American. He's American. To us, it refers to a certain number of values. Braveness, let's say, successful, uh, you know, everything the good for Senegal. This is the embodiment of U.S. tradition to us. That's why it's extremely important that President Obama and his entourage be sensitive of that sense of, let's say, openness that Senegal experiences toward, U.S. President and toward U.S. culture in general. That's why, in a nutshell, as far as tourism is concerned, we would be proud and really honored that we could have partners like you, because the Senegal destination was first, very
Your wife, my sister,
right.
has made these beautiful gowns and dresses for Andre and me. Tell me a little bit about the outfit you're wearing and the native dress of Senegal.
Well, dress has got a particular meaning in Senegal. Through the ages, our fashion remain the same for particular events. Because here on Fridays, for example, from the religious perspective, people prefer to put on dress like this, ample, loose, and uh, the way the Arabic taught us. Because Africa, it's been a mess always, because after the Arabic, we were colonized by the French. So it's a story of colonization. So much so that if we were strong, if our culture was not deeply rooted in ourselves, we would lose our own identity. because they never allowed us to be ourselves. That's what Africa, this is the story of Africa, to be honest. But fortunately, and thank God, we still keep our tradition, our culture. And now, in countries like Senegal, where the impact of religion is very strong, there is a mixture of traditional practices and Muslim practices, to be honest. And Arabics also understand us as, let's say, African Muslims, not simply Muslims, because we have practices they do not accept, they prohibit, but we keep on. It comes from our tradition. So to come back to the dress, this dress symbolizes at least two things: that you you are Muslim. Originally, I say it's not longer the case because now everybody puts it on. You can go to the church and see that even Christians put dress like this, but originally it was designed to be put on by Muslims due to their relationship with Arabic and the Arabic fashion design. So it means that either you're Muslim, or you're going to, and then you're going to the mosque to pray, or you have a traditional ceremony, a traditional event, celebration in your family. It is a baby who is born, a marriage, a disease, something like that. And then there is another dimension of our dress story. Let's say people who are putting on trousers, pants, t-shirts, shirts are those who've been fascinated by, let's say, Western tradition. That's how. I remember my religious teacher once told me, Omar, if you keep on putting on trousers, t-shirts, shirts, it's like you divorced from your religion. To tell you, but this is long ago. Now the reality is totally different. But as we're going back into the past, to capture the meaning, the sense of dress in our culture, in our society, that's how it stands in Senegal. But nowadays, everybody puts on dress like this. We like this kind of dress. And I will tell you another side of our story regarding dress. Our former president, you know, prohibited traditional dress at parliament till 1978. It's very recent, Francis. 1978. Till 1978, no Senegalese official had the right to dress traditional, to put on traditional dress. No, it was prohibited. There was a law to prohibit that. You know, it was because our first president was educated in Europe. He was married to French women, and there were strong ties with France. And even some people nowadays are married to French or European people, but they are deeply rooted in their cultures. The case of President Wade, now in power, his wife is white, and she's understood as Senegalese of French origin. In the U.S., you have African Americans, Asian Americans, Japanese Americans, and maybe French Americans, etc. You always refer to your land of origin. And here also in Senegal, now we're talking about, let's say, um, Senegalese of French origin. Maybe you might be Senegalese of American origin or Senegalese of African American origin. This is how it works. So, in a nutshell, our dress, fashion, our dress way is something, that's okay? Okay.
So tell us a little bit about the bridge, the collaboration between America. So tell us a little bit about the bridge, the collaboration between America and Senegal, and in particular, the collaboration between Gallery Guichard and Senegal, the artists of Senegal, and what we plan on doing.
Wonderful. Globally, as I told you earlier, America is understood as, let's say, a land where most of our brothers and sisters are living right now. after slave trade happens in Africa. So America has a particular position in our hearts as Senegalese, and I told you also that everything that is positive is assimilated with American culture in our society. When you are good, when you are efficient, when you are productive, when you are proactive, you know, when you symbolize strength and smartness, you are assimilated to, American education, American culture. This is how it works here. That's why I think it's extremely important that Senegal can be, let's say, uh, promoted in, in the USA, because it must be an exchange. And that is why we believe, and Minister Law and official people that had the chance to learn about your presence in Senegal, that's we believe that Senegal has got strong opportunities through Gallery Guichard to be promoted through its arts, through its paintings, through its handicraft. And something extremely important came on the stake when I informed officials that you are in collaboration with Walgreens. You know, this is extremely important because Senegalese economy is seeking for opportunities like that, opportunities to sell out, to distribute good quality products in places like that. This is extremely wonderful opportunity. What you brought us is this kind of opportunity. Never ever before Senegal had the proposal like your proposal. And that's why through my voice, through myself, the government of Senegal, from the president to the ministers of tourism, to the minister of tourism and art, really thank you for coming. Thank you for all what you have done. And the fact that you have purchased arts, works from our artists is extremely important because they never had also the opportunity to find hope. You restore hope. You restore hope. Gallery Guichard restore hope to Senegalese artists and creators simply because they know they can gain exposure to the world, collectors, collectionists, I think. They can also gain world and fame through Gallery Guichard, next to international galleries. This is extremely important because your visit, that's why I believe when Andre said that there is something prophetic for you, there's also something prophetic for Senegal, for myself, because I went back to my sources. It's extremely important. I now don't have time to do it because I'm in a position where you're running all the time. And you allowed me to remember my culture, to remember certain things. That's extremely important. It means, in a sense, that you yourself, God sent you here. That's how I understood the thing. And I was discussing with my wife yesterday. I said, Yasin, there is something really happened to me. I don't know. I feel special bond with Andre and Francis. I don't know. I met so many people around the world. This is the first time that I feel that, I'm directly connected to people. It's because, there is something beyond maybe our will. You can't understand, he can't understand, that is taking place. And this is the beginning of a new collaboration.